Oh, hey, they brought back World of Warcraft again. I love this expansion. Well, since I'm stuck having such a great time thinking about playing World of Was Better in the Past Craft, I got to thinking of how long it would take to achieve every task possible in this game. If you don't know what I mean when I say achieving everything, I'm not just talking about clearing all the raid content or getting every class to max level. I'm talking about a total max out, a challenge that makes losing your virginity seem like something feasible. I'm talking nearly impossible shit. I want to go as far as you can reasonably take it, and since all the hype is the 2008 version of the game, we're talking about classic, which makes the job a little more reasonable to define. Well, to actually accomplish this, first thing is first, get on Friender. Is that a website? I'm not even sure, I'm just making shit up. I won't even check if that's a real thing, but regardless, you're gonna need 39 unreasonable friends with undying loyalty to even do this. Yeah, so we're obviously in the space of a multiplayer experience here, so you can't go at this challenge alone. And unlike most games that require maybe a small group of players, you're gonna need nearly 4 football teams worth of people giving you the metaphorical, unstoppable, undeniable hand job of all the loot, all the money, all the etc. So just keep in mind, first step, 39 deranged friends needed. Let's go over the rules for how I'm calculating this. As a nerd fuck, I like gaming, and I also like thinking. So in this little series, I take a game, in this case, World of Warcraft, Classic Coke, and I take all the easy to understand goals one might have in the game, like leveling up all character classes, doing all content. You get the idea. Then I go a little nuts and keep breaking things down until I figure out the most tedious and pointless objectives possible in a game, while operating under the sole rule that I can't double up objectives. Is that making no sense? It's not making sense to me as I'm writing this either. Hi, this is Writing Seer, not Script Speaking Seer, or SSS, the phonetic sound a snake makes, and you know what else a snake does? They slither the fuck on and get to the video already. It'd make better sense in action. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, one more thing. I'm not a math man, I'm an arbitrary Andy, so we're going to attempt to have a good time estimate in this video, but don't expect complete accuracy. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So, you just installed WoW, here we are at the title screen, looks nice, sounds good, presented, you have 8 races and 9 different classes. So let's make a character, say a human warrior, because either we're 8 years old or we're an R classic WoW player who cares way too fucking much. Anyway, the game begins and you have a grand old, let's say 6 days playtime by the time you get to max level. The world record for warriors, seemingly 3 days and 17 hours, but we're not operating under perfection. This is already a liberal time I'm giving. Have you ever leveled a warrior solo with no in-game money or whatever? It's like 12 days, but anyway, 6 days added to the timer. You might be wondering if this is the end of the video, and it's not. So we have a max level character. It's a start. Now continue by getting the rest of the classes to max level as well. Yeah, so fuck. 9 classes total. Let's just say an average of 6 days playtime for each. That gives us 54 days playtime to this point. Alright, so now we have every class down. Wow, this is a great game. I've never seen something so fun to do. Warrior is probably the hardest one, or at least the slowest. It involves a lot of sitting and eating and careful playing. But anyway, it is time to level up 31 more characters. Like I said, we're being dickheads, we're being fools. We're doing every race and class combination in the game, which makes a nice number of 40 level 60s. And 8 warriors because shit sucks. Okay, so we can call it 40 times 6. That's easy math. For 240 days played time, we're already this far into a year. See this bar? It's my year bar. Very useless, but this is how much we have filled. You might be wondering if this is the end of the video, and it is not. We haven't at all talked about the internals of WoW yet. So for the uninitiated, you have items, you have money, you have quests. You know, it's a role-playing game. You play the role, and in the context of our challenge, 40 roles of a guy in a world who can collect and kill things. Well, let's just get this hurdle of completing every quest out of the way. There's 4,610. So if anyone has any suggestions about how to do the math on this, feel free to email me. Alright, so there's not an easy way to calculate this, because who knows how many we would have naturally completed by getting 40 max level characters. I'm willing to bet, all things considered, we cleared out about half the total quests. So I'm just striking off 2,300 right away, so we have to just play around and guess times for the rest of this shit. And if you think I'm sitting around remembering what every quest in the game takes to complete, then you're completely right. I sat here and skimmed and skimmed and skimmed, and to be honest, a lot of these are quick gimme ones. Gonna add 300 hours to the total, considering you could whip through most of this shit pretty quickly with 40 max level characters. Traveling around is the worst part, and I've decided I can't account for travel time in most instances. Technically, you could have had a hive mind helping you out and warp you all over the world, so yeah, there's no point. It's gonna be a foul amount of time no matter what I do. Also, like I mentioned, no doubling up, so we don't have to do every every quest on every character. We just needed every quest completed once. You might then question why I did 8 warriors, but that's because that's an entirely different combination each time. You've got the human warrior, the undead warrior. It's like a new character. Look at me making boring bullshit seem like fun mechanics. I'm basically a Blizzard dev now. Okay, so all quests completed and all characters leveled. Just gonna convert everything into raw hours from this point on. So all things considered, you've put in around 6,060 hours by now. There's some easier goals to complete. Let's move them out of the way. Clearing every dungeon and raid and getting every profession to max level should reasonably take only about 75 hours since you have a full raid team by yourself. There really isn't that many dungeons and professions can be smooth going. For WoW players, you might be wondering if I'm considering using the auction house for any of the shit I'm going to be doing. And for non-WoW players, you're probably wondering what the auction house is. So essentially, you can trade a ton of in-game stuff with other players using gold as the currency. Oh yeah, that reminds me, we're gonna have to hit gold cap here. I don't even remember the fucking, it's like, the number's big, it's too big, bigger than you'd ever have. All right, I looked up the number, it seems to be about 214,000 gold, which is a grand amount. Let's be unlike most classic WoW players and not buy our gold, but we can, you know, retain the ability to buy and sell things. Just call it 1,000 hours of this, that, and the other. That's probably a gross underestimate, but since this shit is not calculable with any certainty, I'm just gonna say that's fine. You probably already noticed, but there's gonna be a lot of, I'm just saying this much time here. If you wanted some pure numbers, go chat with Alb Ein. He's more of a math man than me. This is just to prelude the fact that coming up, my logic and deduction is going to be so incredibly unstoppably arbitrary. It's just going to be complete nonsense, kinda. Okay, so let's just get the heinous bullshit of rank 14 out of the way next. Little explanation, PvP sees you and your digital neighbors duking it out to see who has the least life, and whoever has the littlest life gets to get higher on this ranking of 1 through 14. At 14, you're the Grand Varicose Veins owner, and you get yourself a mighty weapon to use on nothing important. This is a legendary grind. It's not a deliberately intelligent time sink, it's just a long-ass one, and you can't break from the mold. Needless to say, I've never touched this at all, so I'm going to be using other people's numbers. Consensus I am seeing is that it's around 14 hours put in per day for something like 8 weeks. So my calculator claims 800 hours of gameplay to get rank 14 on a character. Sick, disgusting, fetid. At least you only have to do it once and not on every class, right? Call Coco for Cocoa Puffs bird? I'm going fucking nuts. So there is a reason we actually have to do it 9 times total, is because to actually do everything in WoW Classic, you have to collect every item that can be obtained. And since that's class dependent, you have to do it 9 times. So alright, fine, let's rip off the first band-aid off my ass. Oof, there we go, 8,400 hours for all rank 14 classes. Although we could technically stop at rank 13 instead, since the 14 items can be bought by anyone, so we can only do that one time. So we can deduct 2,000 hours, it should be reasonable. There goes like a year, great. So that accounts for about 160-ish items, so how many are there remaining? Yeah. Fuck. It's not all bad. A lot of these are buyable, so we have a full gold stack. Let's just say with that you can buy 10,000 items, but that's probably not enough gold. So let's just say another 1,000 hours of farming to get gold cap again and buy the remaining, I'm not sure, let's just call it 12,500 items from the auction house. Tack on 500 hours of bullshit for all the time you'll be bullshitting around and actually spending your gold and doing stuff. The rest of the items, you ask? Well, they mostly drop from dungeons and raids, and this is where your grand football team of friends is going to be needed. When you raid, typically, you aren't given every single item that drops, mostly because you're not a streamer, but also because you can't use everything. It's just to ensure that, you know, everyone leaves happy and not just the guild master. But in Fantasy World, we are assuming every single item goes to you and you have heinous, sickening luck. This would still take forever. Okay, so let's just get dungeons out of the way. I think we can call it 30 minutes to full clear every dungeon on average. I know some of these are smaller, but some are bigger than my neighborhood, so I'm gonna call it 30 minutes on average. There are 25 dungeons, so my calculator reports to me that 750 minutes is required to full clear every one once. All right, now someone call your favorite math teacher. I need some algebra lessons. All right, never mind, you're taking too long. Thanks for nothing. I'll just manually count this with my ape hands. So a bunch of these dungeons have bosses that drop a large sum of items, so many that we're going to need to repeat them endlessly. Now I sat here for 30 seconds and realized that ape tier brain counting is not going to help solve this. What I needed was hard, good old-fashioned complete bullshitting. You could be the kind of person to figure this out completely accurately. That's something I would be proud of if I were you, but I am not you, so I am going with the notion that you have to run all these dungeons 5 times, and all of these more than 5 times. For these dungeons, there's under 5 unique boss drops per boss, so with a little, and I mean, you know, all the luck you can possibly imagine, you could get every drop in here in that time. So, count the number of dungeons and multiply that by 30, and then by 5, that gives me 2,250 minutes. It's never gonna happen. Now, the remaining dungeons, -3, are a little tricky. They have bosses with very long drop tables. Now, they can also drop multiple items, so we could theoretically get these much quicker than 5, but, there's only so much shit I can guess. So I'm guessing 10 runs for each dungeon with major luck, and you'd have every item. Call it 2100 minutes. But there are 4 dungeons with funny exceptions: Nomergon, Oldaman, Upper Blackrock Spire, and Blackrock Depths. All of these places have a special bonus factor called the foot in my ass, where you have drops that have a web of potential drops underneath them. Just refer to this table and weep, because now for these I have to add up all the permutations of this gear, and that's the number of times you have to run these places. You get 1 variation per dungeon, and believing in the heart of the cards level luck here gives us 23 runs of these 3 and 20 runs of this one, for a grand total of an extra 2760 minutes. It will never literally take that little amount of time, but we're going with it. And then we got raids. Call my boss and tell him to fuck off while I calculate this. About 1 hour per raid, okay? That's fine, fair, it's doable. Okay, so 7 raids total. That's fine, 7 raids. Conservatively, 15 runs each. That could be enough to get everything to drop. So quite simply, 105 hours of raiding, and with these other world bosses in the mix, that takes about 5 hours. Alright, my humongous list is less mungus now, only a few more things to take care of. We gotta kill every monster in the game, including every rare, which are, if you couldn't guess, rare, and hard to rare. Okay, I just counted by hand for some reason. It was one of the least fun things I've done today. It added up to 340. Holy shit! Factoring travel time in this instance, because you will foreseeably have to move around, and since time to kill is so pointlessly low, I'm just saying this takes 500 hours. You never see these mobs. I mean, in years of playing this dumbass game, I've found like 39 of them. This coincidentally covers exploring every part of the game world as well, so that's good. A little 2 for the price of 1 deal. Let's see, we gotta get every hunter pet, which includes these rares. Fucking alright, call it 50 hours for all the travel and rare hunting again. Finally, we have reputation grinds, which sicken me. They sicken me. I hate this. This sucks. I want to go home. Tell my nurse the stomach hurts and get me out of this math class, please. By math class, I mean counting and guessing, but I'm bored. How's the queue doing? Oh, it's doing great. Fantastic. 18 factions to get from normal to exalted. If that's wrong, submit a complaint to me and I'll refund the video you just watched. I'll just zap time right back into your eyes. But anyway, for anyone without a complaint, pretty positive we're looking at 18 bars to grind. Some of these are easy, some are excruciating, and some contradict other ones. Factions which war don't like a fence rider, so you have to go all the way with one and then all the way to the other. And since some give class-specific rewards, you have to do them 9 times. But since you can buy your way to get through a bunch of these and others are just some of the most tedious shit ever, I'm just gonna call this another 1,000 hours. That might be too long. But like I said, a couple of these are bullshit. The PvP reputations are abysmal, but chances are we've already covered them in our rank 14 grind. So happy day. Okay, let me think, let me look. I think that's the entirety of the game. I'm not going to suggest you walk over every pixel of the world or get every single item on every single race and class combination with every enchant on all your pieces of gear. Truthfully, if I wanted to be a major asshole, I could go forever. But all things considered, poorly, the grand total of hours is 16,813 in 30 minutes. Can't forget the extra half hour. Don't miss that. You might be wondering if this is the end of the video, and it is not. Sorry, blomp, bonk, there's 2 expansions to talk about. Fuck's sake, here we go again. I am going to expedite this process for you because believe me, it wasn't fun to look into that deeply. Our max level characters need to be updated to 70 each, and the new races add another 12 characters to max level. Then we gotta get them to 80, and the new classes need 10 versions. Holy God. There's many new items to obtain, titles to get, rares all over the place, reputations to farm. Basically picture the original considerations and make them worse to do. Getting entire item sets are way worse because you now need to be good at the game by climbing competitively to the top of the arena, the more directly PvP mode, and since they are class dependent, we have to do it 10 times over, complete all the raids. It's just a night. It's just sick. It's the demented sick nightmare. So as I've said, I'm just going to add too many times. I'm just going to add 5,000 hours to our total for both TBC and WAF of the Witch King. 2,500 each. So for classic World of Warcraft in its entirety so far, to do and see and experience and own everything, you're looking at an order of about 21,813 hours and 30 minutes. It's nearly 2.5 years, and that's us going fast as shit. If you take issue with this total, there's a few steps I want you to take. Firstly, leave a comment. You can say anything in it. That's the beauty. You can shit talk, or you can admit talk. That's where you admit I'm right. Secondly, make your own video response, doing math at a kitchen table for 12 hours, and then we can argue this. The queue's going really well. I should be in by tomorrow. I guess it's worth my time to start thinking about other games with even worse grinds, even more time consuming than WoW. I can think of one straight away.